Have you ever walked away from a disagreement feeling like no one truly won? Maybe you pushed hard, proved your point, and got your way, but the relationship felt colder afterward. Or maybe you gave in just to keep the peace, only to carry quiet resentment with you. These are the false victories of conflict. One side gets their need met, but the cost is trust, connection, or long-term cooperation. Dale Carnegie, the author of How to Win Friends and Influence People, understood something that many people still miss. In human relationships, victory at the expense of another is never a true victory. The most powerful outcomes don't come from defeating someone else, but from creating solutions where both sides walk away with dignity, respect, and satisfaction. That's what we call a win-win solution. Today, we'll explore how Carnegie's timeless principles can help us stop approaching conflict as a competition and instead transform it into an opportunity for collaboration. Most conflicts escalate because we frame them as me versus you. It's as if we're on opposite sides of the table, pulling against each other in a tug of war. Carnegie would say that's the wrong starting point. If you want resolution, you have to stop tugging and start turning the table so that both of you are on the same side, facing the problem together. Imagine two colleagues arguing over how to divide limited resources for their projects. Each insists their project is more important, each refuses to budge. In that setup, only one can win. But what happens if they reframe the conversation? What if they say, "We both care about delivering quality results for this company. How can we allocate these resources in a way that benefits the bigger goal we're both working toward?" Suddenly, it's not a battle of wills anymore. It's a joint problem-solving session. That small shift in perspective is the foundation of every win-win outcome. The power of listening. First, Carnegie emphasized again and again that one of the most powerful tools in influence is not speaking, it's listening. In conflict, most of us make the same mistake. We listen only to prepare our rebuttal. We wait for the other person to stop talking just long enough for us to jump in and defend our position. But what if we truly listened, not to reply, but to understand? Carnegie said, "Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves." Why? Because when people feel heard, their defensiveness melts. They no longer need to fight for validation because you've already given it to them. Picture a negotiation with a client who is unhappy with your work. Your instinct may be to explain yourself right away, to justify why things went the way they did. But if instead you said, "I want to make sure I fully understand your concerns before I say anything. Can you walk me through what feels most disappointing?" You've completely changed the tone of the conversation. You've told them, without a single defensive word, you matter. Your perspective matters. And from that place of trust, they're far more willing to hear your side later. Starting with agreement. Another of Carnegie's timeless tactics was to begin every discussion with areas of agreement. He explained that once people start saying yes, they're far more likely to keep saying it. Agreement builds momentum, like rolling a snowball downhill. It starts small, but it grows quickly. Let's say you're in conflict with your boss over a project deadline. If you start by saying, "This deadline is impossible and here's why," you've already created friction. But if you begin with agreement, "I completely understand how important this deadline is, and I care about meeting it as much as you do," you've built common ground. That agreement becomes the bridge that makes your request possible. To deliver the quality we both want, I'd need until Monday instead of Friday. The boss doesn't feel opposed, they feel aligned. And that opens the door to cooperation instead of confrontation. Mutual benefit, speaking their language. Carnegie often said that people are motivated not by what you want, but by what they want. A true win-win solution speaks to both sets of needs and finds the overlap between them. Imagine you're negotiating with a partner who wants to cut costs while you want to preserve quality. If you argue only from your perspective, you'll sound self-interested. But if you frame your request in their language, everything shifts. Instead of, "We can't afford to cut corners," you might say, "If we invest a little more here, we'll avoid costly mistakes down the line and protect the company's reputation." Suddenly, your solution meets their need, saving money, while also meeting yours, protecting quality. That's the essence of win-win, aligning your interests with theirs so both sides feel satisfied. Preserving pride and dignity. One of Carnegie's most underrated principles is letting the other person save face. Even if you're right, humiliating someone into submission is never a lasting solution. People are far more attached to their pride than to the facts. If you strip them of dignity, they'll carry resentment long after the conflict seems resolved. Picture a team leader who calls out an employee in front of everyone. "You missed the deadline, and now we're behind schedule." Maybe the leader feels justified, but the employee leaves embarrassed, bitter, and less motivated. Contrast that with a private conversation. "This week's timeline didn't go as planned. I know you've had a lot on your plate. Let's figure out a way to avoid this in the next sprint." The problem is addressed, but the person's dignity is preserved. That difference, the difference between shaming and guiding, is what turns conflict into growth instead of grudges. Ending with encouragement. Carnegie also believed that people respond best to encouragement and sincere praise. He wrote, "Praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement." And in conflict, this principle is vital. If you want someone to walk away from a difficult conversation ready to cooperate again, you must end by affirming their value. After reaching a resolution, imagine saying, "I really appreciate how open you were in this discussion. It helped us get to a stronger solution." That one sentence can transform how the other person remembers the conflict. Instead of recalling the tension, they'll recall the respect, and that positive memory makes it easier to find win-win solutions the next time too. Redefining success in conflict. At its heart, Carnegie's negotiation philosophy is about redefining what success looks like. Winning an argument isn't success if it damages the relationship. Backing down isn't success if it leaves you resentful. Real success in conflict means both sides walk away with their needs respected, their dignity intact, and the relationship strengthened. So the next time you face a disagreement, pause and ask yourself, am I trying to win at their expense, or am I searching for a way we can both win together? Am I listening to defend myself, or listening to truly understand? Am I protecting my ego, or protecting the connection? When you shift from competition to collaboration, from proving your point to creating mutual benefit, you discover the real magic of Carnegie's wisdom. Conflict stops being a battlefield and becomes a workshop, a place where respect, understanding, and cooperation can build something stronger than either side could have built alone. That's the essence of finding win-win solutions. And it's not just negotiation, it's leadership, it's empathy, and it's the kind of influence that lasts. That's all for this video. Like and subscribe us for more related videos and share it with your friends.